we're back with the show. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here at the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. We want to truly thank you so much for watching and listening. If you haven't yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe today to get the latest notifications and when we go live on the air with the latest Pop Culture Cosmos for you, or a State of Pro Wrestling, a PCC Multiverse, or any one of the number of things that we do at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So please go ahead and check it out today, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube. But here today to talk some of the things that we need to catch up on is a good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check him out anytime he is here, or dig on America, our good friends there. It is TJ Johnson. And TJ, always great to have you here. I know you might be still out on the road as always, but always great to have you here, a part of what we're doing at the Pop Culture Cosmos, my friend.
G, thanks so much for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to be on the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Always, my friend. Truly appreciate it. And I also want to go ahead and thank you for allowing me to reschedule and allowing me to go ahead and be able to have time to give you this great opportunity to go ahead and share your thoughts on a lot of good things going on in pop culture. First thing first, my friend, is one of the most topical things that's going on in pop culture right now, and that is Starfield. One of the most divisive games, not only of 2023, but probably in all of video games in the history of video games. So I ask you, my friend, because of the fact that so many people feel so many different ways, from people absolutely loving it to people absolutely hating it, the impetus as far as some of the main review scores have been in the 7s, 8s. Right now has an 87 on Metacritic, and it looks like that's where it's going to stabilize, meaning it's a really good game to a lot of people. Again, it's a game that, according, if you look out on the internet, a lot of people have been playing, over 1 million concurrent players. It's been a huge hit for Xbox, exactly what they needed. But your thoughts on what could be described as one of the most divisive games in video game history?
You know, the fact that it's considered one of the most divisive games in recent history goes to show you, and I hate to say this, but it really is the truth. It goes to show you exactly how toxic the gaming community really can be. It breaks my heart that it's so divisive, because there's nothing that should be divisive about this game. Let's be clear. Is this the console selling game that Xbox hoped it would be? That's debatable. Obviously, you can't play this game without having a subscription to Xbox Game Pass, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up either being a PC Game Pass subscriber or you're going to be an Xbox. Is it the console seller? Yeah, it would be, but kind of by default. If you had options to get it elsewhere, I mean, they may not. My point is, the game is really good. The game is a lot of fun. I have literally gotten lost in Starfield. Every time I try to focus on the main quest, it's like I get distracted like a squirrel. Like, you know, I'm focusing on one thing, all of a sudden a squirrel runs by and I can't focus anymore. Like it's that engrossing. Are there hiccups? Are there things that, you know, we wish this generation of game consoles that we're still not dealing with? Again, that's debatable. I know there's a whole lot of hoopla to be made about the loading screens and the models and some of the other nuances that come with the Bethesda title. And truth be told, it really doesn't bother me. I think that it's okay to have a moment to breathe. So I'm okay with the loading screen every now and then. And let's be really clear, I'm playing on a Series X. There's not a lot of load time. I mean, there's a loading screen for sure, yes, but we're talking about maybe 5 seconds, maybe 7 seconds, enough to maybe be a little annoying at times. But again, I enjoy the breather, the chance to kind of rethink some stuff out. And it's exactly the game I was looking for. It's exactly what I was expecting. I'm having a ton of fun with it. It's a combination of Skyrim meets Mass Effect meets No Man's Sky. I am thoroughly enjoying my time with it. So the fact that it's so divisive just really shows you that's the kind of community that we deal with in the gaming community. It's really sad, but it's very true. There's nothing that's divisive about this title. This title is everything I expected it to be and then some. So quite upset, not upset, upset's not the right word, but very disappointing that it's as divisive as it is, because it really doesn't deserve to be.
Once again, I'm on with TJ Johnson. We're here talking Starfield, first off, as far as our Devotion to pop culture each and every time out. With Starfield, my friend, again, Bethesda's entry into the Xbox universe as the first Xbox Bethesda exclusive. I think because of that very fact alone, I think you are going to get a lot of hate thrown your way.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
have, whether it's from mainly PlayStation fans and supporters who are probably either mad or jealous and or both that it was supposed to be meant originally as a PlayStation exclusive, but then because of the purchase by Bethesda by Xbox, it has turned into something else. I think that when you see the reactions to it, and I do think that there are some valid claims when it comes to Bethesda's latest offering in Starfield that needs to be addressed. I mean, there are issues that I have with it when I experience Starfield, and that's whether you talk about the fact that the game doesn't hold your hand enough. Which some people like myself need more guidance on exactly what to do, when to go, because when you get into it, it's great that it's so overwhelming with the choice of options of what you can do and what you can go ahead and accomplish. It's also overwhelming on what you can do and what you can accomplish. So, again, with the other things we'll set aside right now, just the sheer fact that I think it does not lead you in any direction is a curse and a blessing in and of itself.
I don't disagree,
I
but
mean, you don't disagree, but you don't agree, and that's
no, and
exactly the response that
yeah,
everybody's going to say, right?
yeah. I mean, possibly I can't speak for everyone, but I know for myself, I'm tired of games that hold your hand. I'm tired of games that say you go from here to here, and that's what you do. Listen, if we wanted a linear game that's just going to tell us exactly what to do, then you go back and play Skyrim, or you go back and play, um, some of the Mass Effect series games. Or the point is, we're in a day and age where people want to have the freedom to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, in the order that they want to do it. I mean, we look at games like Breath of the Wild, that didn't hold your hand. We look at games like um oh my goodness, I can't even draw a blank, but you insert open world game here, and a lot of them nowadays are getting to the point where they're your next objective, but they're not exactly telling you this is what you have to do right this very moment. This is your ultimate goal. And ultimately, the goal in Starfield is to be determined depending on how far you are. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But the fact that they allow you the choice and the cadence to do it the way you want to do it, how you want to do it, personally, I think is refreshing. I don't necessarily want a tutorial in my face every time, all the time, telling me this is exactly what you do, this is exactly how you do it. I like the fact that I have to do a little legwork. I like the fact that I have to explore and kind of find my own way. I like the fact that there's no mini map. I like the fact that it doesn't tell you exactly where each store is. You actually have to look around and learn your surroundings and learn the place that you're at. All that kind of stuff I enjoy and I dig, because again, it gives more of the immersion aspect, of the sense that I'm in space, and there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily charted in space. You go to a lot of different worlds, they're not charted. You don't know exactly what you're going to find in those worlds. You know what kind of resources are going to be there, but you don't know exactly what you're going to run into or what you're not going to run into. It's all up to your individual experience. My experience with Starfield, and these are the kind of things that I enjoy talking about. My experience with Starfield, or my experience with certain games, are going to be different than your experiences with Starfield in certain games. It reminds me of when Across the Spider Verse originally came out, and there were certain scenes that were cut differently for different movies. Like there were some scenes that in America that were shown that weren't shown, or were shown differently in other areas. The digital release had different scenes than was shown in the theatrical release. Just kind of ways to say my experience might be just a little bit different than yours. And I thought I actually dug that. So I am all for them not holding your hand. I think that it's one of the better choices that you can make in those kind of games, especially when everybody was crying about how much Skyrim was very much do this, do this, do this, do this, and they pointed everything out for you, and it could be as linear as you really wanted it to be. I really enjoy the fact that it doesn't have to be that way in this game.
So I ask you, my friend, because of the
Mhm.
fact that when it comes to the experience of Starfield, some of the other things that have been mentioned in regards to some of the NPCs, other things as far as the writing, whoever you talk to seems to love it or hate it as far as writing some of the either the main quest storylines, or if you want to branch off and go on quests for yourselves. Just seems like every aspect, whether it's the lack of exploration, because you have 1,000 planets to choose from, but you can't do much on them
Mhm.
outside of some procedurally generated things that are already put in there. And then you've also got some other main arguments against this game. It seems like there's so much being scrutinized with this game. Some of it is just, and I agree with some of the assessments that have been made to this game. But as a guy who has played 130 hours of Oblivion, and to be honest with you, TJ, I actually forgot where I left off with the main quest like 100 hours ago, maybe 120 hours ago. So I'm actually eventually, when I play it next time, I promised myself I would get back on the main quest to finish that off. And as someone who has had different experiences with Fallout and with the Skyrim, and those have not been the greatest experiences for me, I ask you, when it comes to all the divisiveness, all the nitpicking, all
Mhm.
the magnifying, or under the magnifying glass, as it were, when it comes to Starfield, what does that say when you have a game that's out there that everybody seems to be picking apart and choosing on what they like and what they don't like within the confines of this game, like no other game coming
Yeah.
out this year?
Yeah, it goes to say a couple of things. One, again, it talks about the toxicity that exists in the gaming community, because you have people that are picking apart this game for the sole fact of picking apart this game. They're not
Mhm.
picking apart the game to be objective. They're picking apart the game to prove a point. And it's unfortunate when we're looking at things from a standpoint of, I just want to tear it down, as opposed to, hmm, I'm a genuine consumer. I am someone who is genuinely looking to experience this game. These are some of the concerns that I have, but overall, I'm here to just enjoy this game and play it for what it is. I'm going to pick it apart just for the sake of picking it apart, just for the sake of making argument, just for the sake of making content. Because again, we live in that kind of world where people are looking for clickbait, they're looking for ways to get viewership up, and me destroying something that really doesn't need to be destroyed or shouldn't be destroyed, but I'm going to destroy it because it's going to get me viewership, or it's going to get me article reads, or it's going to get me whatever the case may be, is very disappointing. To be frank with you. Um, the fact that it's so divisive, and the fact that it's under such a microscope, really just goes to show you a couple of things. One, people have still are playing it, whether they're playing it for the wrong reasons or not. They're playing it, so they're doing exactly what Bethesda wants them to do. So that's number one. Number two, uh, it goes to show you that there is legs in RPGs. Still, there are legs in what Bethesda offers, and Microsoft did a good thing by being able to acquire them. Now, if they acquired them because I heard that they acquired them because they were concerned it was going to be an exclusive to PlayStation or whatever the case may be. I don't know if it was confirmed it was exclusive to PlayStation. I really hope it wasn't, but it wouldn't surprise me considering that's what Sony likes to do. So I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that the bottom line is for you to experience this RPG and a lot of future RPGs to come with Bethesda and other acquiring studios, as we're going to put it for the time being. You're going to have to do it on Xbox. It is what it is. And whether you like it or you don't like it, it is irrelevant to the fact that it's going to be under the Xbox brand. And you're going to have to learn to live with it, or learn to be without those certain games, just like we've had to, as an Xbox consumer, learn to be without certain games. And, it kind of just is what it is. Does it suck that we don't get the opportunity as Xbox consumers to play Spider-Man? Yeah, it does suck. Does it suck that we had a chance to make a Spider-Man game and didn't make a Spider-Man game? Yep, it does suck too. That absolutely sucks. But considering that Spider-Man games weren't doing very well at the time, Xbox really didn't have a lot of a lot of latitude to take those kind of chances. So I understand it. It sucks, but it's the nature of the business. People just have to be able to just accept things and move on, instead of thinking they can complain and fight and bicker, and it's going to always change things for the outcome that they wanted to change it for. Doesn't always happen like that.
So, in your opinion, your time with Starfield has been very much well spent.
Oh my goodness, Gerald, I have lost hours to Starfield already, and I don't really. Let me be clear. I don't have a lot of hours to lose. I'm very grateful that my that my job changed and I'm now doing late night overnights, because I've had more time during the day, and I have thoroughly enjoyed Starfield. from the beginning of the game. The beginning of the game is a little draggy because you're just not sure what's going on. This is where you're getting your feet wet. So I can understand there's
That seems
valid
to be also a
criticism.
big
Yeah,
criticism. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So there's valid criticism there. I can completely understand at the beginning of it, you kind of have to really, you have to want to play it to really get through and understand it. But once you do, it opens up in such an awesome way. And when you finally kind of understand some of the systems and how those systems work and interwork with each other, and exactly what the main storyline is, because you're really not sure. There's so many storylines and they're so meaty. There's so much going on, and when you understand that you really can do whatever you want to do in the way you want to do it, it's pretty awesome. Now, I will say, for anybody that's wondering, if you can do the main storyline first, focus on the main storyline. Is a little pro tip for you, because the main storyline really opens up everything else in the game. But you kind of want to focus on the main storyline at least for the first 3-4 hours of the game. You want to kind of focus there. But once you can get past that beginning, it opens up awesome. The story becomes very engrossing. You start becoming really engaged with these characters, and granted, the writing is what the writing is. I don't think it's the strongest writing. I still think games like Mass Effect have stronger dialogue, but I also think games like Mass Effect are more linear from the standpoint that they don't have nearly as many branching storylines. They have nearly as many branching activities for you to do. So there's not as much dialogue being recorded. So you really can focus on quality versus over quantity in those kind of open world as this. It's
So
kind of, go ahead.
no, it's okay. No, go ahead. You finish up, my friend.
So
I'm sorry.
no, you good. With an open world title like this in Bethesda and what they're doing here, there's so much that goes into it. There's so many lines of dialogue. I mean, everybody is talking. Everybody, but you as the main character, of course. Everybody is talking. So there's a ton of lines being written. There's a ton of lines being recorded. There's a tons of lines that have to be programmed to be played at certain times, and there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's not so distracting that you can't focus on what's happening. Some lines are delivered better than others, and that's just the nature of voice recording. Sometimes it comes out better than other times, and it's unfortunate, but it does not, by any means, to me, let me be very clear, to me, does not distract from the story or the experience at all.
Once again, it is TJ Johnson. Please go ahead and check him out today anytime he's here, or our good friends at Dig on America, the podcast. So, the last question I will touch on Starfield for now. I'm sure that Starfield is going to be much of a great source of conversation in the months to come. Is the procedurally generated 1,000 plus planets you can supposedly land and explore? The explore part is the issue I have, because I think a lot of people were hoping that not only would you get the storytelling and the options and the choices and the side quests and the main missions of an Oblivion or a Fallout or a Skyrim, but that you would be able to explore these planets and get rewarded or get how should I say, just some type of internal gratification of being able to wander the universe and wander through these planets and explore them. But there are some severe technical limitations when exploring said planets. The diversity has come into question as far as the options which you can do, what is exactly procedurally generated, and also the fact that there's not a whole lot to do outside of the 2 or 3 things that are put in there on a great majority of these planets. Being over there's a mission for you, or something
Mm-hmm,
side going
mm-hmm,
on, or something secret in there for you, but you really can't go and walk from one side of the planet to the other, or do a loop around through the entire planet. That is not available to you. Or if you do, there's not those random encounters that we have seen in Oblivion, which is a 2006 game, Skyrim, which is a 2011 game, and the Fallout series, where these random encounters that happen to you all along the way, just 30 seconds or 2 minutes into running or walking wherever it is through your countryside. You cannot do the same thing with these planets without finding anything at all on occasion. So I ask you, my friend, I think that's a very valid criticism,
mm-hmm.
because the way the trailers were leading you to believe it looked like it was going to be something far different than what it ended up being.
I don't disagree with that, Gerald. Actually, I agree that I think that's a valid criticism to an extent, and here's why I say that. Yes, the trailers made it kind of seem like you could do a little bit more in these worlds, but let's also be very clear: what trailer has not made a game seem like it's something more than what it is? Every trailer that comes out for any game is essentially a hype machine, and it's designed to garner excitement. So, like trailers for movies, a lot of times they show some of the best parts right in a trailer um, from the movie, and then you get to the movie, and it's like, okay, well, those were all the best parts. Um, I think that we had this expectation that it was going to come out doing exactly the opposite of what No Man's Sky did. From the standpoint of No Man's Sky, it over promised, under delivered. We were expecting Bethesda's title to come out and just over deliver, and it didn't do that. It kind of almost stayed the same lane as No Man's Sky. So I can understand that criticism. What the only thing that I would counter, and if it even be a legitimate counter, to we're talking about 1,000 procedurally generated worlds. Then you have to script 1,000, procedurally generated, or not script because it's procedure generated, but you have to have enough programming in there for thousands of different encounters. Again, everybody's encounters are going to be different. Everybody's gameplay is going to be different because they're going to go to different worlds at different times. And I think there's a lot that goes into it. And I think the fact that they even allowed it as 1,000 different worlds to explore is a bit too much because none of us are, well, I shouldn't say none of us. You're going to have somebody out there that wants to do it, but the vast majority of us are not going to explore 1,000 of these planets. It's just not something that we're going to take that kind of time to do. So if they wouldn't have explained it as such, if they wouldn't have advertised it as such, I don't think it'd be a big deal. But because they did advertise it, yes, people are going to expect certain things from it, and they're going to have these expectations, whether valid or not. The expectations are going to be there. So anytime it falls short of those expectations, there's going to be, rightfully so, criticism and some backlash. So I can understand it. I just think that it's a bit more of like, okay, what do we really think was going to happen with each one of these worlds? Did you really think you were going to have an opportunity to run into something at every point? Every world that I've ran into thus far, I have had to fight something. I've had to do some mining. I've had to do some outpost building and things of that nature. So I do find something to do in each one of these worlds. It's not that I haven't, but I don't think it's what people were expecting it to be, and that's where the criticism and the concerns come in. So I get it. There are legit criticisms. It's not a perfect game. Um, this is not a God of War Ragnarok or a The Last of Us type scenario where this game is almost like perfect from the beginning to the end. There are hiccups, there are technical hiccups, but you also have to consider the scope of this game and what it is that they're trying to do. It's almost like a, not Red Dead, because that was a very, very strong storytelling game, but it's so big, it's so massive. There's so much that goes into a seemingly endless galactic universe that I think it was inevitable for them to fall short in some areas. Um, Not No Man's Sky level of fall short, but just fall short. It was overpromised. There was too much hype. There was too much promise, and I don't think there was any real way for them to deliver on those promises. Personally,
Once again, it's TJ Johnson. Please go ahead and check him out here, right at the Pop Culture Cosmos, of course, also as well. When he stops by, our good friends at the Dig on America podcast. So there you have it, my friend. There's your thoughts right now on Starfield. I know your journey will continue. I know you're going to put many more hours, as will I,
yes,
into Starfield because, again,
yes,
this reminds me, and probably more comfortable for me, that it reminds me more of the Skyrim slash Oblivion type of adventure as opposed to what I've not enjoyed as much, because I know a lot of people are like, are you a Bethesda person, a Fallout guy, or a Skyrim guy? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of like, excuse me, Elder Scrolls guy. I'm like,
mm,
kind of like on the Elder Scrolls side. Fallout outside of New Vegas really hasn't appealed to me a whole lot, but
yeah.
yeah, I just think that for me, Elder Scrolls has been something I've really enjoyed. And so far, I've only played through just a little bit of it, but I'm liking my thoughts. But yes, it is a slow burn. But once you finally get the itch, once you finally do get
Oh
burned,
yeah, yeah.
it'll take you on a journey I think you won't soon forget.
Nope. I definitely agree. It takes a second to get there, but once you're there, you are in. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts as you continue to progress through because I know how I'm feeling. I'm loving every minute of it. I was playing it before we got on the air.
There you go. Absolutely. Glad you're still enjoying Starfield. If you have thoughts out there on Starfield, we would love to hear them. Please let us know, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But my friend, there's another video game that came out as well in the past few days. One that mysteriously, or not so mysteriously, did not give out review copies until release day on Friday. And that was NBA 2k24. That was a, how should I say, a ode or a tribute for obvious reasons to Kobe Bryant, for the 2 for his daughter Gigi, and of course the 24 for him. That's the number he played with a good amount of his career with the Los Angeles Lakers. So I am happy to announce that the game is now out. A lot of people are experiencing it now. It does come from a company that has been very open and honest about its affection towards microtransactions and how their affection has been parlayed into virtually every single game that they now produce. It has been said on many times by the higher ups at 2K on many occasions during their conferences that they have to their shareholders. So, wouldn't you know, again, no review copies handed out beforehand. The first and only review at this time, when you go to Metacritic, is by IGN. No other major entity has been able to go ahead and provide a review as of yet. And wouldn't you know, they gave it a 6 out of 10, with the major caveat being it would have been a great game, but like the last year and the year before and the year before and the year before, the love for microtransactions hinders the player's
Yeah,
experience. So I ask you, my
yeah.
friend, you are a player in NBA 2K24. You are experiencing now as we speak. So what are your thoughts when it comes to this tribute, loving tribute to Kobe Bryant when you look outside the box? Inside the box, what do you get, and are you liking what you're doing right now in NBA 2K24?
Whew. Okay. Um, I
That
was
tells me a
prepared for
lot right
this.
there.
I was prepared for this. I was prepared for this conversation. So, what I absolutely, as a lifelong Los Angeles Laker aficionado, I mean, I'm talking George Mikan lover of the Los Angeles Lakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back to find out that the Lakers were not originally from LA, which is why they have the name Lakers, because of the land of 10,000 lakes,
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, Minneapolis. Point is, I I absolutely love the presentation. I love everything that they're doing in regards to honoring Kobe Bryant. Who I think is like his third time on a 2K cover, third or fourth time at this point. I think he was 2K. I know he was 2K10, and I think he was
Is it third, fourth,
2K.
or fifth?
I just know he's been on there quite a bit. So I know
Okay.
he's probably one of the few athletes that have been on there at least three. I know at least three times. It might have been four or five at this point. I forget because he's been on there that often. Point being is that I'm a huge fan of what they've been doing in regards to the presentation that they've been giving in regards to Kobe Bryant and some of his Mamba moments. I think that they lost a huge opportunity to drop 81 because that's not one
Mm-hmm.
of the Mamba moments, but that's neither here nor there. On the aesthetics aspect, it's a great looking game. I think it actually is probably the best playing from a fluidity standpoint of the 2K series. Last year was a great leap forward in regards to that. The way the players moved on the floor, the locomotions that go into it, the fluidity of going side to side, front to back. I thought they made great improvements on that. It's something that we've been begging 2K to do for a long time, and they kind of have been very slow burned about doing it. I'm sure that there's a lot that goes into it, so I get it. I don't want to be the one that continues to complain, but they finally seem to figure out a lot of the movement, a lot of the nuances in regards to playing a game of basketball. The way that, as a player, you can push the ball up the court. in front of you to kind of get yourself a little bit of space and develop some speed. Just little nuances that you'll notice. You can catch the ball instead of you bringing the ball back down to load up a shot. You can catch the ball and go right into a shooting motion, so it takes a half a second off of your shot release, which is the difference between a green release, not contested, versus a contested shot that doesn't, drops the percentage down quite a bit. So it's little nuances that if you actually play the game of basketball and you pay attention to the things that they do, that you'll come to appreciate. You'll appreciate the matches. The computer now does a much better job of exploiting those mixed matches, one, and then filling those holes in the mismatch too. Before, you'd have to be the one kind of in control and being the floor general, watching all of that. And now I'm very appreciative. I'm very appreciative of that. And in being appreciative of that, I can say that it plays very, very well. Now, the problem is, yes, 2K is in love with microtransactions. This is nothing new. This is not a startling revelation. It has been proven, it is factual, that 2K is in love with microtransactions. No surprising. Yeah, that's a point blank period. So, with 2K being in love with microtransactions, it makes the player who doesn't want to spend extra on microtransactions very frustrated, because it's a pay to win, much like a lot of the mobile games that we've played, much like a lot of the other games that we just don't really want to dig into, because you want it to be more based upon skill and not how much money you put into a game. You want it to be because you're the better player. It doesn't change the fact that this was a slippery slope 5 years ago, and a lot of video game players, a lot of editors and video game pundits and people that talk about this warned you, not you, but the audience, warned the consumer that this is where we're going. And if we don't address it now, it's going to get worse. If we don't address it and we don't get them to the point where they need to understand that we don't want this in the game, it's only going to get worse. Not only did we not tell them enough that we didn't want it, we're out here buying virtual currency like it's going out of style. I mean, you spend $70 on the brand new game because the $69.99 MSRP right off the jump for the current gen consoles, $69.99 right off the jump. Then you're paying for virtual currency, which is going to range you anywhere from 20 to $50, depending on how much you want to actually buy versus how much you want to grind out. And then you have people that pay for XP boosts and stamina boosts and all this stuff. So if you've got the money, you can churn out an 85 overall player within probably a few hours of purchasing the game, as opposed to someone who, I just want to spend $60 on the game and enjoy it because it should be a complete game at $60 or $70. I'm not spending an additional $50 on VC. I'm not spending an additional $60 on virtual currency. So it is very frustrating. It is very frustrating to be in situations like that. It's to the point where, if the only way that we can really address this, and here's what I was saying about my last frustration with 2K. The only way you're going to be able to address this is if you have two different leagues, two different online careers, two different my players, one for people that purchase VC, one for people that don't. This way, if you want to go purchase VC and you want to be the best of the best of the best of those players that purchase VC, then go purchase your VC and enjoy and have fun. But at least allow the people that want to have the pure experience of grinding and building up their character from the ground up the old-fashioned way, the opportunity to enjoy that. Because what you're doing is you're alienating a specific crowd that does not want to invest in doing that for a game that they've already paid top dollar for. I mean, you spend $70 to play the game when it comes out. $70 already. So you're already spending that money on that. And then they expect you to shell out money for VC to be competitive. This is just to be competitive. This isn't to be the best. This is to be competitive. For you to even stand a chance, you've got to buy VC. And it's just not fair. It's not fair to the people that want to play the pure game. It's not fair to make me have to purchase this in order to enjoy an aspect of the game that I've already paid for. Because if I'm going online to play against players that are already at level 87, 88, 89, what am I getting online for? What am I doing it for? So frustrating, and I don't mean to get on here and beat a dead horse because it is frustrating, but there are a lot of great things about this game. There are a lot of great, from the animations to the shooting mechanics, um, to the way defenses are played, the way defenses are run. It has the feel. It has the feel of an actual NBA game. There are minor hiccups that I have a gripe with. Like, for instance, if I'm doing the Mamba moment games, the only thing that really irritates my soul about those is that the uniforms don't move. And what I mean by that is they don't, like if you actually play a regular pickup game, or if you're actually just playing games online, their shorts move, their shirts move, like it looks like clothing, it looks like cloth. But then you go into these Mamba moment games and like the uniforms don't move at all. It's a minor gripe, it really is. But it's a gripe nonetheless because it irritates me. It irritates me playing and everybody looks like they're playing in clay, playing in the old 2K jerseys and shorts that are just all stiff and don't move at all. So other than that, visually speaking, it's a fantastic looking game. They really taken their time to get the atmosphere correct, especially on the Mamba moments. They'll talk about things that are happening or that happened around that time of the game actually playing. So they'll talk about Kobe just flying in, from being away from the team for a personal matter and already being in a bit of a have a chip on his shoulder move when he walked in the arena. So he's looking like he's going to go off today. They'll do little things like world building for the time that we're watching the particular game. So it's actually it's pretty cool to kind of go back in time and live those moments and actually have the world respond in a way that he does. Like he's going off at 58 points or whatever the 12 3-pointers, and they're just continuously talking about it, and they're actually like giving commentary like it's happening in real time. And then he goes off and drops another 3-pointer. They say he's still going, and it's just little things like that that truly engulf and engage you into this particular moment in sports history for the time that you're playing it. So there's a lot of things that it does right, and for everything it does right, they just microtransactions rear their ugly head and make it bad again. Like it's very frustrating that there's so many things that 2K does correct, so many things that 2K does well, and they still just it's frustrating, Gerald. It's very frustrating. Now, do I think it's 6 out of 10 frustrating? No. IGN, no. That's not.
Well, I mean, that's part of his. He did the same thing. It's the same reviewer that did 2K23,
Yeah.
citing the same concerns. It's just that it's a game that is really strong until you get to the point where you're stopped and burdened by microtransactions, where you
Yes.
cannot proceed forward with any consistency or any skill or any real level of quality without dipping into some microtransactions. And
Yeah.
that's he's this. I was reading the reviews while you were talking, and that's basically he showed the 23 and 24. He's saying virtually the same thing. It's almost like he had to copy and paste. Like he didn't even need to go ahead and do that anything this year. He did. Okay, I'm not saying he didn't, but it sounds like a broken record. But
Yeah.
then again, we see the same thing as far as FIFA. Why has that game been so much maligned all over the place? Depending on the version, is because the fact it's reliance on microtransactions.
Yep.
With other games that are out there, 2K, especially with these sports games, 2K is really sending a message that we don't want you to enjoy the game without spending more money beyond what the $70 that you already spent.
See, I don't know if that's the message they're sending. I think they're sending the message of this is the way of the future. This is what people have been. This is clearly what the consumer shows that they wanted. If the consumer didn't show that they wanted it, then 2K wouldn't continue to do it. Everybody keeps talking about how bad this is, but if you look at the transactions and how much money virtual currency is bringing into 2K, there is zero way, I repeat, there is zero way that 2K is going to be like, yeah, stop doing that. There's no way. When you see the amount of money that they're bringing in for stat boosts, they don't have the game. This is literally for stat boosts. And we expect 2K to stop. If the consumer's going to keep buying it, 2K is going to continue to do it. That's not going anywhere. I can assure you that we are in for the long haul when it comes to 2K and any other sports title, or not just NBA 2K, other sports titles as well. In regards to these microtransactions, it's not going away, because we haven't stopped purchasing it, we haven't stopped consuming it. So If it's not broke, they're not gonna fix it. But my point is that doesn't mean that the game itself deserves a 6 out of 10. There's frustration in regards to that aspect of it. Yes, absolutely. But to say that, in my humble opinion, to say that NBA 2K24 is only 6 out of 10 is not fair to the work the developers put in to actually making the game making it feel like a game of basketball. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's a true reflection of what that game is. I would be perfectly fine giving that game an 8.5 out of 10 because the gameplay, when you're playing the game, it feels great. I think it's a little on the fast side. I think they can do with turning the speed down just a taste, but just a taste, not very much at all. I think that it's really right out the gate one of the best 2K games you can play right out of the gate. Now, a lot of times, 2K will have to go through and adjust things like inside shots or how the defender the closeout defense and how that affects the shot. And they'll have to go back and tweak things as people have gotten more time with it, and as the people that stream 2K and play 2K competitively and all, they talk about it. So then they go out and make adjustments. But by and large, I think this is probably the most pick up and play friendly version of 2K in a while. And 2K23 did a great job in that regards as well. So 2K24 kind of just built upon the formula that 2K23 had and just made it a little bit better. But I don't think it's fair to give it a 6 out of 10. I think anything less than an 8 out of 10 is just being harsh and being unnecessarily harsh.
Well, but in your description
Mm-hmm.
of what you went over,
Mm-hmm.
you're saying quite a bit of the game is hampered because you have to go ahead and dip in, or being forced in many ways to go ahead and pay up more money than what you already spent. So, in
Well,
essence, that takes the
mm-hmm.
fun factor out of a lot of it, which
Mm-hmm.
can, in my opinion, decrease the score quite considerably.
Well, and that's fair, but the only thing that's going to affect is if you're doing my player. So, for instance, if you're playing the game for my player, then yeah, that's going to really mess up your score. But everybody doesn't play. I don't play 2K for my player, and the reason I don't play 2K for my player is because of microtransactions. I won't spend the extra money for it, so therefore, I'm not even going to get involved in that. Now, that's my point in saying it's disappointing that aspect of the game that I paid full price for, I can't truly enjoy, but that's one aspect of the game. There are many other modes besides my player. Now, if your focus is on my player, then I can understand why you would feel as much the game being a 6 out of 10. But if we're being objective in looking at the overall picture of the game, my player is one aspect of NBA 2K. You have online franchise, you have offline franchise, you have pick up and play now, you have so many other mechanics and so many other things that go in that NBA 2K overall experience. It's not just my player. Now, my player is what's fancy, and it's what's getting people talking because it's what people are streaming on YouTube and Twitch and all this and that. But that's not the only aspect of 2K. So that's why I say if you want to knock that aspect of it, absolutely, you knock down a couple points. But the overall game in and of itself is not a 6 out of 10.
Okay. But again, it just I can't see both sides of this equation,
Mm-hmm.
but especially when it concerns for me, if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
buy it and I'm going to pay
Mm-hmm.
$70,
Mm-hmm.
I'm allergic. My doctor's told me I have a severe allergy to microtransactions.
Yep, I ain't
So,
mad at you. Yep.
yeah, so seeing that, as
Mm-hmm.
far as the game I want to explore and the game I really want to get into and spend a ton of time on, I mean, if my enjoyment is going to be severely hampered, that's a problem. Now, if it's just some cosmetic things or something on the side,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's fine. Go ahead, do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
DLC content, major DLC content, like for instance, we go back to Starfield, they're getting a Shattered Steel major $30 DLC that you need to buy to get into that. That's something different because you've got a 150-hour game that you're already playing. You're
Absolutely.
given an
Yep.
option of buying into this as for another 20, 30, 40 hours more. That's different because we
Mm-hmm.
saw that with Elder Scrolls games in the past, give you these kinds of experiences. That's a different story and different microtransaction of a different kind. But if you're doing this, that will literally prevent me from enjoying the game that you gave me or that you allowed me to buy for $70. If you're preventing me from doing that, that I have an issue with.
Yeah,
That I have a
absolutely.
problem with. And if you expect me to give it a good score because of that, it's not really something that I can feasibly do.
Right. But again, we're talking about one aspect of the game. We're not talking about the entire game. You're talking about the my player portion of the game. It doesn't have any effect on the pick up and play now, the association, the online association, a lot of the other aspects. So you're looking at 1/7 of the game. Now, granted, this is the part that a lot of people seem to want to gravitate towards because it's the more popular aspect of it now. I get that, and I'm not discounting that at all. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the overall total package of what this game offers, the my player, as far as I'm concerned, is a null and void thing for me. I don't even consider my player anymore because of that, because of the microtransactions. But that's not why I play NBA 2K. I play NBA 2K for the entire package, not just the my player aspect of it. So the my player aspect, yeah, I would knock off everything from my player. But because that's 1/6 of the game for me, I would knock off 1/6 of my score. Which, if I'm giving the game a perfect score, then it's going to knock it down to whatever a percent, whatever percentage is 1/6 of it is. So, whatever percentage that is, that's what it would knock it off as far as I'm concerned.
I will say this though before we head out to talk about something else. I do want to mention again 2K24. It is out right now. It is available to go ahead and get. And I guess the total right now, depending on who you talk to, I looked it up. Kobe Bryant is the all-time leader in covers for NBA 2K with 6,
Wow.
followed by Allen Iverson with 5, and Michael Jordan with looks like 5 himself. So there you go. All right. Just wanted to go ahead and mention that. But it is NBA 2K24. If you are playing it or have any thoughts on either the Lakers Fast Break or Pop Culture Cosmos, please let me know. Reach out on Pop Culture Cosmos or Lakers Fast Break on social media, or right below on YouTube, or Lakers Fast Break or Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. But before we head on out, one last thing, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about, and that is Star Wars Ahsoka, which, again, as
Yes.
we're talking about,
Yes.
is halfway
Yes.
through. You said
Yes.
as homework assignment, and I always love pinning this on Melinda. Your homework assignment is to catch up on Ahsoka, and she's so proud. She'll DM me. She'll say, "I caught up. I caught up. I'm so happy, Gerald. I caught up with the homework assignment." So yes. So I ask you, my friend. You said you would catch up with Ahsoka.
Yes. Yes.
So as it leads into possibly a destination to another universe, and also
Yes.
as well where Ahsoka left off with a interesting confrontation, or I should say, not a confrontation per se, a possible extended conversation with an uncanny valley. And I'll leave you that to as far as that's concerned. What are your thoughts so far? Let's call it halfway through Star Wars Ahsoka.
So it's so funny to me that I feel like Star Wars is becoming Marvel and Marvel is becoming Star Wars, in the sense that Star Wars is finally starting to gain some more traction again. I remember talking about Star Wars. You and I talked about Star Wars. We've been talking about it a couple years ago, and it just not really, you feel like it kind of gets stale. Now, Star Wars is always going to be fun because it's lightsabers, it's exploring the galaxy, it's the Force. There's so much that goes into it. It's always still going to be an enjoyable thing, but it was getting a bit stale. And Marvel was, going right into Endgame and Infinity and the Infinity Gauntlet saga, finishing that up. So there was a lot of, okay, Marvel is at the top and Star Wars is just, they're just kind of scraping the barrel at this point. And I feel like we've kind of 180 that. And Star Wars is just, you got the Mandalorian, you've got Boba Fett, now we've got Ahsoka. Like there's some good content Star Wars wise as of late. And Ahsoka is one. I just can we just admire Rosario Dawson for a minute? I mean, she has literally been in Marvel. Now she's in Star Wars. Like, she is living my pop culture fantasy um, through, and she's just she is pop culture as far as I'm concerned. She's right
Mhm,
up there with freaking oh my god, I can't think of Oscar Isaac,
mhm.
and just doing everything right now. She is nailing it as Ahsoka. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to expect. I thought when they cast Rosario Dawson, I'm like, okay, I could see Ahsoka, but I need to feel Ahsoka. I need to feel like this is the same Ahsoka from the Clone Wars saga. This is the same Ahsoka from Rebels. Like, I need to feel like this is the same Ahsoka. I wasn't sure what to expect, and let me tell you, man, I am surprised, and I am pleasantly surprised, and I am excited. And then the ending of this episode, are we allowed to spoil? I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of do.
Yeah,
Are
go
we allowed to
for it.
spoil? Oh,
By the
heck
time it'll
yeah.
come out, it'll be over a week
Yeah,
as far
man.
as yeah.
I don't feel bad then at this point. The fact that they brought my boy Hayden Christensen back and he is finally getting his flowers. He is finally
Yes.
getting his flowers. Episode 3
Yeah,
was not his
D-Res, a
fault.
DH face and all. You got to say that.
With no scar. There's no scar on his right eye. So I thought that was interesting too.
And they called us the land she's in right now because
mm-hmm.
she's in the land between world, the world
land
between worlds.
World between worlds, something like that. Yeah. So look, they're finally giving this man his flowers, and he's been rightfully deserving of these flowers for a long time now. I was one of the first people to defend Hayden Christensen to the teeth, because everybody talked about how wooden of an actor he is, and I said, this is the content he was given. This is the stuff that he was given. It's not his fault. He was given this content to work with. He did the best he could under the circumstances. What did you really expect from him? Gerald, I'm excited. Gerald, I don't get excited very often, but I've been getting very excited with Star Wars as of late. I want more. I want more Hayden Christensen. I want more Obi-Wan. I definitely am excited for the halfway point of Ahsoka, and I'm really curious as to how it continues to tie in. Are we going to find Ezra? What's going to happen with all? Gerald, this is good stuff, man. I'm giddy. This is good stuff.
I can tell, my friend, and I'm happy for you. It's been okay, although sometimes the way they structured out some of these episodes, some of them sometimes just not very.
Leaves a bit to be desired. I get you.
It does. It does as far as the pacing, the way they stretched out, either make it a long or short episode. Sometimes the episode, they're still on the planet. They're still on the planet. They're still on the planet, and then just it takes a little while to get used to that part of it. They are trying to stretch things out to 8 episodes as best they can. I get that, but I can see it as far as what the future is for this. And if this does get over, there is going to be talk, and there already is talk about Dave Filoni, who's the guy behind all this, and obviously the Clone Wars and all that, possibly leading to a movie with Heir to the Empire movie, because already Rosario Dawson has dropped that line already on the show. So your thoughts, could you foresee, if this is received well on Disney Plus, and yet I don't have the numbers given to me yet because it's always delayed on streaming, could you foresee a future movie or movies, it graduating, because we're already going to deal with the whole Mandalorian universe, or at least the Mandalorian part, that's going to become a major motion picture at some point in time.
Yes.
Do you foresee this also leading into Heir to the Empire as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Heir
that
to
this
the
is
Empire.
Heir to the Empire. Yeah. I don't think there's any way it can't lead into this. I don't really see. I mean, of course they can do whatever they want to subvert our expectations, right? But I think the logical step is Heir to the Empire. I think you have to. I think that's exactly where they need to go. And I want to see that. I want to see it. And I know that there are a lot of Star Wars fans who have now gotten that itch that want to see it as well. And I think a movie for Rosario Dawson's version of Ahsoka is going to do good, because it's going to be a little bit more concise, a little bit more get up and go right now, as opposed to a series being a bit of a slow burn and kind of graduating to the action, graduating to some of the payoffs that we've been looking for. With the movie, it's a bit faster paced, so you kind of want to get more to the point quicker. So I think that it'll serve Ahsoka well. I think the thing I enjoy about having these little mini series is that it gives you a chance to learn who these characters are before you see them on the big screen in a much more concise way, because you can't really dedicate a ton of time to every character as much time as you'd like to. I think that's what Marvel was really trying to do, is saying we can't dedicate movie time to each one of these characters, the Ms. Marvels, the roadies in regards to the Armor Wars that's going to get ready to come out, and to the Samuel L. Jacksons and the Nick Furies. You can't always dedicate a lot of the movie to them, so they're trying to give them the opportunity to shine now. The problem is we've already been given the good stuff, so you can't go back and give us the bad stuff now. So with Marvel, they're kind of doing it backwards. I think with Star Wars, they're doing it right by having all these small stories and then showing how they tie into the bigger universe versus having the bigger universe and going into the small stories afterwards, if that makes sense. They're kind of doing it the opposite direction. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it. I think now that we have a bit of it, we can kind of say, okay, now we've gotten to know Ahsoka, we can we can trim up some of the fat and now give us really what we want, what we're looking for, as opposed to going the opposite direction that they would do with like Nick Fury. So yes, I think it's coming. I think it's just a matter of time.
All right, fair enough. I just want to make sure because it's been a very rocky road so far for Disney Plus,
Yes, it has. Yes, it
creatively
has.
and viewership wise for them this year, this calendar year, which started out looking so promising as far
Mm.
as what the future would hold, has really taken a left turn in more ways than one, with fewer successes and fewer hits and a lot of problems along the way. Much maligned storylines, a much maligned series and movies that have come out since. So 2023 has not been the greatest for Marvel, but when it comes
Mm-mm.
to Star Wars,
Mm.
hopefully the future looks a little bit brighter and that they will be able to go ahead and translate Star Wars Ahsoka into something much larger that people will go ahead and want to follow. I did have an issue, as I've said before, with the book of Slobo Fett, which I thought was slow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As Melinda and I have said before, Mandalorian season 2 was really good, probably the best of the series as far as the seasons for it. Then season 3 came out, and that it was just all over the place. So that had some issues with me as well. Obi-Wan Kenobi, depending on who you spoke to, was
I loved it.
okay. You loved it. I thought it was okay, especially those battle scenes between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let me just leave you for dead. Like nothing's going to happen down the road. Absolutely nothing ever at all is going to happen. I'm just going to leave you under a pile of rocks because I think you're done and done for. That's no problem at all. Oh wait, I'm going to have another battle with you later on where I get to also leave you for dead. But you know what? That's okay. It's not like anything is going to happen down the road. Yeah.
I think you have to suspend a bit of belief, and especially we have to
Oh, a
realize
lot
we're
of disbelief on
but
that
we're
one, my friend.
telling stories within stories, so these stories are already written. We're just filling in the little. I
Okay.
think
So
that if we're talking about Obi-Wan, the series Obi-Wan right now, if we're gonna go there, I think that they did that to kind of show that was still some Anakin in there, and there was still some, and they were still kind of showing him like he, not that he was having mercy, but that
well,
he
that's what
really,
all these new series that have him in there are all about. It's just showing you
of
that
course, they're
Anakin.
showing that there was still
Yes.
Anakin there.
Yes.
So that's exactly what Obi-Wan. Of course, he put him under a pile of rocks, and I'm sure somewhere deep down inside he knew that he wasn't really dead. Just
Okay.
like he knew somewhere deep, just like Obi-Wan knew that he really wasn't equipped to kill Darth Vader. He wasn't equipped to be able to do that, especially once
All
he knew
right.
that it was Anakin.
Okay.
So
I'm just asking, man. But
don't
it
you
just
don't you get my lightsaber ignited. All right,
I'm,
stop it.
uh, I'm just gonna say again. It's pretty cheesy with these battle scenes that okay, we already know what's going to happen later on in the Star Wars future, but
Yes, we
all
do.
right, the timeline has always been changed. That's the thing I'm seeing when it
Yeah,
was Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They're just
yeah,
erasing and changing the Star Trek
yeah,
timeline
they
whatever the
are.
way they want to. Seems like the Star Wars timeline, they're kind of like tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it on their own as well. But hey, if it makes for great entertainment, that's fine. I'll take that indeed. But my friend, it's been great having you on the show, talking Star Wars, Ahsoka, talking NBA 2K24, talking Starfield. It's been a great conversation. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
Right now is a great time to be a gamer. There's so much content coming out. We're still looking. I mean, we're just in September. This is going to be very, 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 very tough because you got Starfield. People that play NBA 2K. We've got NBA 2K. You're going to have Mortal Kombat coming out, and that's a lot in 30 days, within a 30-day time span. That's a lot of stuff coming out. So it's for me, this is the sweet spot of gaming. The summer is usually a tougher time, but it's right into this late fall, beginning of winter, where games are coming out and they're ramping up for the holiday season, and this is when it's fun to be a gamer, but it's also frustrating because it's a lot of money, and life happens, so you can't always do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt. Great ending on that last episode of Ahsoka. All kidding aside on Ahsoka
Yeah.
and as far as its pacing is
Hmm.
concerned, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping everybody else is as well. That they'll finally
Yes.
support it, and that it will lead to something substantial in the Star Wars universe, so that we don't get the, how should I say, decisions that were made in the last decade when it came to movies in the Star Wars universe. Indeed, but
Absolutely. Absolutely.
last comment by Kurt Affair. Only thing that annoys me with Star Wars and Star Trek is that they keep doing content from the past, move forward, do new stuff. That's true. I agree with you. And then with the Star Wars universe, as you know, they're going to be doing stuff even further back in the timeline with the Old Republic and all that stuff that they've got along the way as well. The
Hmm.
things that they're doing to tweak and alter those original timelines. I know a lot of people, hardliners, like for myself, I'm not so hardline, but I kind of found it disturbing when it came to the Star Trek universe, especially what
Yeah.
they did with Khan. I did
Hmm.
not like that at all in the last season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So
Okay.
that I did not like, as you altered the original time frame for the growth of Khan. So you're on your own there as far as Khan is concerned. So let's just nix out
Yeah,
the
done.
Ricardo Montalban, Khan, whole 9 yards. So let's go ahead and forget all about that. Let's go ahead and change it up. But okay, he's only the best Star Trek villain ever. So let's just go ahead and do that. But
Yeah.
my, my
God. So.
God, indeed, absolutely. So don't get me started. That'd be another hour. But my friend, we will go ahead maybe someday chat about that. But also, will 2023 end up being the best year ever for video games? Hold your thoughts on that, my friend, because we'll come back and have that discussion at some point in time down the line. But again, I truly appreciate you having that great conversation with me on pop culture. Kurt Affair says, real Corinthian leather. No, nobody could describe things just as well, of course, especially if you're buying a car, than Ricardo Montalban, indeed. But TJ, just great to have you here. Looking forward to our next conversation of pop culture. Hold your thoughts on video games,
Okay. All
because
right.
all right, we'll have it very soon right here at the Pop Culture Con, Pop Culture Cosmos. And Kurt, we're gonna go ahead. I'll be on Lakers Fast Break later tonight at 9. I'll see you then. All right.